September means playoff races, and boy, are there some doozies shaping up in Major League Baseball this September. We've got some big time races in the AL West. We have wild card races gone. We have to break it all down. Take a look at the schedules. Who's a pretender? Who's a contender? Who's getting in? Who's going to be left out? It's time for 3 Up, 3 Down to look at playoff races. Let's go. Let's start in the American League West, where we have 3 contenders still trying to capture that division crown. The Mariners, Astros, and Rangers are all in the thick of it. And when you take a look at schedules, we'll start off with the Astros. The Astros have one of, if not the weakest schedule in baseball in September, so they have a real opportunity to push towards another division crown. When you take a look at their schedule, what stands out, 6 games with the Kansas City Royals, 3 with Oakland, 3 with the Yankees. There are some tougher series in there as well. They've got Texas for 3 in Texas and 3 in Seattle. So there is a lot of opportunities for this division to come down to those series as well. But when we look outside those series, I think the Houston Astros have a real chance of going on a real significant run here in September to claim the division crown. When you move up to Seattle, Seattle has a very favorable schedule as well. They've got those games with the Astros. They also have 7 games left with the Texas Rangers. And those games could really help determine this division race. They've also got some games with the Yankees. They've got some challenging games and interesting games with the Reds as well. They've got the Angels in there as well. And if Shohei Ohtani gets shut down, those change those types of games as well. So for me, I think the division race is going to come down to Astros Mariners. I think Texas' schedule is just that much more difficult. And when you look at that Rangers schedule, they've got those 7 games with Seattle. They've got 3 games with Houston. You throw in some games with Toronto and Boston as well. And Cleveland is a very interesting series to me as well. Cleveland can be up and down. You never know what you're going to get from the Guardians. So I think Texas is in a real shambles here of trying to win the division. However, I do think one of these 2 teams that doesn't make it in terms of the division race is definitely going to make it as a wild card team. We're looking at it. I think Baltimore wins the AL East and Tampa Bay finishes in that first wild card spot. The Minnesota Twins seem very much favored to win the AL Central, so that's almost a lock, I'd say, in September. So that comes down to one of the 2 teams, whether it's the Mariners, Astros, or Rangers. One of them is going to fill a wild card spot, and the other one is going to be in a bit of a race, I think, with 2 other teams. And those 2 other teams come down to Toronto Blue Jays and the Boston Red Sox. When you look at the Blue Jays schedule, they better make hay right now, and the struggle for them is Matt Chapman and Bo Bichette are on the injured list for the next 10 days or so, depending on when you're watching this video. So they're going to have an explosion in terms of their offense. George Springer really needs to step up this time of the year, and it is now time. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. needs to be better than just above average. Everybody says he's going to be elite. Well, now is the month when he becomes elite. He needs to carry this offense while Chapman and Bichette are out, and he certainly has an opportunity to with games against Oakland, Kansas City, Colorado. There are some very winnable series early in September, especially for the Blue Jays. When you look later on, they've got a bunch of games with the Yankees. Who knows what type of roster they're going to be fielding at that time, and Tampa Bay. And the interesting thing about Tampa Bay, they have a series with the Blue Jays right at the end of the season. It'll be interesting. If Tampa Bay has already clinched a playoff spot, what kind of roster will they be rolling out as well? So the Blue Jays may have the best schedule in terms of the non-AL West teams of trying to get into a playoff spot, especially early in September. The other team is the Boston Red Sox, and they're 3 or 4 games out of the wild card, depending on when you're watching this video. They've been up and down, very inconsistent the last month or so, and they've got probably the toughest schedule of any team trying to get in. They've got 7 games with the Baltimore Orioles still left. They've got 3 with Texas. They've got games with Tampa Bay. They've got games with the Blue Jays. They have the 3rd toughest schedule in all of baseball in September, so they are going to have to get red hot to make up these games against some of the best teams in baseball. So they are likely a team that's going to finish out of the race unless they can pull off a miracle here. So when it comes down to it, definitely you're going to have your AL West winner, whoever that's going to be. I'm favoring the Astros in that situation. When you move to the wild card, Tampa Bay is likely going to finish that top wild card. For me, it's likely going to be Seattle as the 2nd team in the AL West and the 2nd wild card spot. And I think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to beat out the Texas Rangers here. They go on a run to finish in the 3rd wild card spot. I do not like that Texas schedule, and they are not playing well, and their bullpen keeps blowing crucial games. So I think Texas may just be the team that falls out of this this race, but who knows the way this is going to play out. It is going to be a race right to the very end. Make sure you're subscribed to 3 Up, 3 Down. We are currently pushing towards 400 subscribers and would love to get there by the end of the baseball season. So share this out with your baseball fanatic friends and let's get 3 Up, 3 Down to 400 subscribers. In the National League, we have something very similar to the American League. The National League Central has 3 teams still in that race, although I think there is definitely a favorite for the NL Central crown between the Brewers, Cubs, and Reds. The other teams that miss out are likely going to be in that wild card race, and I'm favoring one of those teams to finish in a wild card spot as well. So in the NL Central, I think the favorite has to be the Milwaukee Brewers. They've been an absolute tear at the end of August. They have one of the weakest schedules in baseball in September as well. So I think they are highly likely to finish as NL Central champions. And you take a look at their schedule, you can definitely see why. The Brewers still have 7 games left with the Cardinals, 3 games with the Pirates, 3 games with the Yankees, and they've got some games against the Cubs, and they've done very well against the Cubs as well. So I think the Brewers are definitely the favorite to win that NL Central crown, and they've really excelled with their pitching staff of late, and they're hitting a lot of home runs, and that makes for a lot of success in Brewers baseball. For me, finishing second in that NL Central should be the Cubs. They still have a fairly simple schedule in September, and they have feasted on poor teams in the second half. They had one of the strongest schedules in the first half of baseball and made their way through that and have been excelling here in the second half, but they've been beating up against poor teams. They have not been excelling against top-end teams. And for me, the 7 games that really stand out for the Cubs are 7 games with the Arizona Diamondbacks, and those are going to be massive games. We'll see if the Cubs can really dominate the D-backs, or maybe the other way, the D-backs can beat up on the Cubs and really claim, I think, that second wild card spot. It looks to me like the AL East obviously going to be the Braves. I think the Phillies are going to finish that top wild card spot. The Dodgers are going to win the NL West. So it's going to become a race, I think, between the Cubs, Giants, and D-backs for that second wildcard spot, and there may be some other teams to fit here and to talk about as well. Obviously, not being counted out in this NL Central race, though, is the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds have gone on a massive run in the second half as well. I'm really excited with what this Reds team can offer next year and in years to come, but I think they're starting to run out a little bit of gas. Matt McClain has gone on the injured list. Their starting rotation has really struggled. Hunter Green has come back healthy, but has not been effective. They're starting to run out of arms. You have to wonder about innings caps on guys like Andrew Abbott and Brandon Williamson here as well as we approach the end of the season. So I think it's going to be too little too late for the Reds, but what a season they've had. Taking a look at their schedule, it's not the most difficult, but you still have series with Seattle and Minnesota. Maybe the Reds can get hot, but for me, I don't think they're winning this NL Central crown. However, I think they're still going to be in the wild card race. So for me, that leaves the D-backs, the Giants, and the Marlins as 3 other teams really trying to get into that wild card place, not challenging in their divisions at all. The Arizona Diamondbacks have a very tough schedule in September, but they've been playing very, very well of late. Their starting pitching has been very well with Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, and look out for Brandon Pfaadt. He's figuring it out at the major league level. They do have that tough schedule. 7 games against the Cubs, like I said, is going to be very, very interesting. They have only 2 games left with the Giants. You do see some challenges towards the end of the season with 3 games in Houston, but keep in mind, Houston may have clinched a playoff spot by then, so you never know what kind of series you're going to get with the Astros right at the end of the year to see if the D-backs can capitalize on that, potentially make it in as a wild card team late in the season. They are definitely in this race. Like the D-backs, the Giants have a tough schedule as well, and for me, their pitching has been very good, and it's been very impressive to see Kyle Harrison come up and see what he has done at the major league level, but the offense is what worries me in San Francisco. They have not put up a lot of runs, especially in the second half of the season. I do not think the Giants are going to make a playoff spot because of that offense, but you never know what they can pull out here. The Giants mix and match so well, they can capitalize in one-run games very well, and they have some very challenging schedule as well. They still have 7 games left with the Dodgers. They've got a series with the Cubs. They've got a 2-game series with Arizona. It's going to be a very difficult schedule the rest of the way for the Giants. We'll see what they can do, but again, who knows what type of Dodger team they're going to be rolling out right at the end of the season, although I'm guessing it's going to be a very good Dodger team right to the very end, especially in their spot for a bye in the playoffs. because they're going to want to run their guys no rust right to the end of the year. The team I'm thinking is getting up on the outside looking in is going to be the Miami Marlins, but you never know what they can put together with that pitching staff. They can get a real roll, and if they can start scoring some runs, they've got an opportunity to claim a wild card spot as well. Again, another team with a very difficult September schedule. They still have games left with the Braves and the Phillies, as well as the Brewers and Dodgers. So it's going to be a very tough road in September for the Marlins. So we'll see if their pitching staff can help them out and get them to a wild card spot. When it comes down to it, I think the Brewers are going to run away with the NL Central here. I think the Cubs get in as a wild card team, probably the second wild card team. So we'll go Phillies, Cubs, and I really think it's going to be the Arizona Diamondbacks that claim that third spot in the playoffs, and if they do, look out because of that three-man rotation. Now, Giants, Marlins, Reds are going to make this very, very interesting. I can see the Reds sneaking in if they can find some pitching because of the schedule along the way. So we'll see what happens, and it is going to be a crazy month of September leading into the playoffs and the best time of October baseball. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of the video here on 3 Up, 3 Down. Make sure you comment down below who you think are going to be the division winners, as well as the wild card winners here at the end of September and qualify for playoff baseball. As always, go make sure you check out some of my older videos. I did a video recently on the greatest team I've ever seen. Make sure you go check that one out. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made. So please go check that one out, as well as some YouTube shorts. As always, make sure you subscribe to the channel as we make that push for 400 subscribers. Until next time, take care, everyone.